Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. Funny thing about being fast, you end up waiting a lot. First to show up, first in line, then just waiting. Me, I rev up Chumba Casino. With over 200 social casino games, no slow lanes here. Why sit around when you can spin? I'm already racing. Your turn. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Rufino's on Highland Road, welcome to the Friday edition of Live at Lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff flying solo here to begin today's show, but not for long. Chris Passero will be with us today. Troy Macker will be with us. Bruce Marshall will be with us. And in hour number 2, for about the last 45 minutes of the show or so, Richard Dixon will be here. We'll be doing some LSU previews. Of course, Richard will be back with us full-time this year. Glad to have the former All-SEC tight end back with us. He'll be with us on Fridays when we expand the show when football season starts. He'll be back with us as a part of our pre- and post-game coverage on game day. And, of course, the Handycast will be coming back. If you didn't get a chance to check that out last year, we turned it into a film review last year. Richard had a real good handle on what was going on with the film review, and I thought I learned a lot. Put it to you that way. So I was happy that we changed that format. We'll be bringing that back again this year too. So glad to have Richard with us today. We got updates from the Open going on all afternoon, and it is this is the last. We have been on this end of the bar here at Rufino's for the last 13 years. Every Friday we've been here. This is the last one that will be in this particular bar because for the next 2 weeks they are doing an extensive renovation here in the Rufino's bar. So we will relocate in the restaurant here for the next couple of weeks, and then we'll have a brand new digs right in time for the competition dinner that'll be coming up right before the start of the season, and of course for the whole season. So we'll say our ode to this particular Rufino's bar. We have spent a lot of time on and off the air. We spent a lot of time in this particular room, so they'll be renovating over the next couple of weeks as we wind down the summer. Open updates. The weather is improving over in Northern Ireland, and here come the birdies, and here comes Scotty Scheffler, who has birdied 3 out of the first 6 today and has pulled within 2 shots of the lead that is held right now by Brian Harman and Hatong Lee from China. Matt Fitzpatrick is also at 6 under par. Harman is done for the day. He shot 65, so he's got that 8 under in the bank. Everybody else that is at the top of the leaderboard is still on the golf course. Some of our picks: Matt Fitzpatrick at 6 under. He is through 8, 2 under par for the day. Robert McIntyre is in. He is 5 under par, 66 today. Terrell Hatton also in at 5 under par. He shot 69 today. Rory McIlroy shot 69 today. He is 3 under, 5 shots off the lead. John Rahm and Shane Lowry, both still in the early stages of their rounds. They are 2 under par. So we'll keep you up to date on what's going on over at in Northern Ireland at Portrush. Sam Burns having a rough day, though. He is 2 over par through 7, and he's 1 over par for the championship. Our one unanimous play this week was Russell Henley. He shot 1 under 70 today. He is even for the tournament. So that's kind of where we are over at the Open. Rufino's lunch today includes the coconut shrimp as one of your appetizers with the orange chili sauce, the Italian sausage egg rolls with the honey mustard sauce on the side, seared salmon, one of your entree features today with the charred green onion relish and some roasted vegetables on the side. and banana pudding tiramisu for dessert here at Rufino's. Now, every year, the Southeastern Conference has their media days. Media days wrapped up yesterday. And every year when Media Days wraps up, the conference releases their picks for the media, their all-conference selections, and their all-conference players. And they do this every year at 11 o'clock on Friday. This year, just in obviously an attempt to throw me off, they decided to push it back to 12. So what I was going to do was give you my 16 predicted order of finish, and then compare it to what the actual SEC order of finish is. I'm going to give you mine anyway. I'm just going to have to wait another hour to give you the SECs because, like I said, they just decided to throw a monkey wrench in my whole schedule today. So thank you, guys, over at the SEC for that. So this is my my prediction of what I think the league is going to say here in an hour. I'll be surprised if it's anybody but Texas that is picked to win the league. In addition to, being in the playoffs the last 2 years and having what we think is the best roster, top to bottom, they've also got Arch Manning. And I can say this because Jimmy's not here. The media loves Arch Manning, besides him, of course. Okay, I think that it's a little bit too much too soon. And by the way, so does Arch Manning. I thought he downplayed as much as you can downplay it for being a Manning at Media Days this week. But the media loves this guy. The betting public loves these guys. Manning is the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman. And for a guy that's played 2 games, I can't ever remember, somebody who would play 2 games that is the betting favorite to win the Heisman. But he is. I'll be very surprised if it's anybody but Texas up at the top. I'm thinking that they will pick Georgia number 2. This is not as good of a roster as Kirby Smart had when they were in the championship game, back-to-back years. But it is still very good. I think there's some faith in Gunnar Stockton. I don't know if it's overwhelming faith, but I think it's enough. And Georgia, who had that hellacious road schedule last year, turns around and brings all of the heavyweights, Texas, Alabama. Ole Miss was a heavyweight last year. We'll see if they are this year. All of those teams return the trip to Athens this year. So the home slate, where Kirby Smart has not lost since 2019, I think is going to play in Georgia's favor when these predictions come out. I got the Dogs at number 2. I think that just out of habit, they will put Alabama at number 3. Again, this is a good Alabama roster. It is not as good as the rosters that Nick Saban had when he won multiple national championships. Can this Alabama team make the playoffs? Absolutely. A lot lies with Ty Simpson. How good will he be? If he is as good as Jalen Milroe was last year, then they'll be right there. Milroe had a good but not great year last year. If he played LSU every week, he would have won the Heisman Trophy in a unanimous vote. But the rest of the year had some rocky spots. If Simpson's at least as good as Milroe, Alabama will be right there to the end. I think they will pick the Tide third. LSU, I think, will be number 4. Based on the fact that I think that they will have the all-SEC quarterback again. And that's no small thing. 2 years ago when Jaden Daniels was a preseason all-SEC quarterback, we remarked that it was the first time since Tommy Hodson that LSU had the preseason all-SEC quarterback. Well, now they'll have it for the second time in 3 years. So based on that and the transfer portal class that Brian Kelly brought in, I think LSU will slot in at number 4. Number 5 is a little bit of an upset. This is maybe a little bit different than what the preseason magazines have said, but I think they're going to slot South Carolina in at number 5, and it's for one big reason. I think there is going to be an enormous amount of support for Lenore Sellers. He's got every tool you want. He had a very impressive first year as a starter. If he takes that second year jump, South Carolina, I think, can be very good. Once you get past the top 4, you can shake up about the next 6 and put them in whatever order you want. I think that South Carolina is going to come in at number 5. That's my pick anyway. number 6 may surprise you a little bit, but I'm going with Captain 30 team here. Eli Drinkwitz, who dropped that piece of knowledge yesterday, said he thinks the 30 team should be able to, be in essentially a playoff, a proposal that's going nowhere. But you have to give the guy credit. He has won 21 games at Missouri the last 2 years. If you turn your nose up at that.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
It's more than LSU. And it's also, they're playing in the same conference. But here's the thing. This schedule is extremely favorable. First of all, the 3 non-conference games that they play up the top of the season, they're going to be very, very big favorites in those: Central Arkansas, Kansas, UL Lafayette. And then they get a game against South Carolina, which is going to be huge, I think, for both of those teams. That'll be are they contenders or are they pretenders game early in the season. That'll be in week 4 against South Carolina. Then they get a warm-up against UMass. They get a week off before Alabama. Their road games are at Auburn and Vanderbilt. Those are both winnable games for them. And then you get Texas A&M at home. That's another toss-up game. They should beat Mississippi State at home. Then they go to Oklahoma and Arkansas. And I don't know what Oklahoma and Arkansas are going to look like by November, but I do know what Missouri has done the last couple of years. I do think that is a favorable schedule. There's no Texas. There's no Georgia. There's no LSU. Alabama, at least, is at home. The road games on the SEC schedule at Auburn, at Vanderbilt, at Arkansas are all very winnable games. So I got Missouri coming in at number 6. I got Oklahoma right behind them. A lot of faith in John Mateer, but also Jade Knott. I think this has probably been underplayed a little bit. Jade Knott was an extremely productive back for Cal, with less support than he will have at Oklahoma. Big piece to what they want to do offensively. I got Oklahoma in at number 7. Ole Miss at 8. Lane Kiffin's crew. What I think they've got going for them this year is they do not have the weight of the expectations that they had a season ago. And whether it was that got to them when they played Kentucky and Florida, because when they played Kentucky, they were still undefeated. And they thought that they were going to the playoffs. And by the time they got to Florida, it was like, hey, wait a minute, we've lost a couple of games here, but if we win this one, we're in great shape to make the playoffs, and they stubbed their toe there. They won't have the weight of those expectations this year. And I like Austin Simmons an awful lot. I'm basing it on a limited sample size. That drive that he put together against Georgia was when Dart went out of the game early, was one of the more impressive drives that we saw the entire season for a backup quarterback to come in, go against that defense at that point in the game. I liked what I saw out of Simmons. So I got Ole Miss in at number 8. A&M at number 9. I'm not as convinced about the quarterback as a lot of people are, and I say that after he just absolutely shredded LSU in the second half of that game. But I'll put A&M in at number 9. Tennessee, similar quarterback questions. I've got them in at number 10. Florida, I got in at number 11, and I'm already thinking that I may have the Gators a little bit too low, but it's the schedule, man. If Florida was playing Missouri's schedule, I'd probably have the Gators in the top 4. But after a couple of warm-ups to start the season, it's at LSU, at Miami, off week, Texas at Texas A&M, and then later in the season it's Georgia at a neutral site, Tennessee at the end in the swamp. A game that's being played a lot later than it usually is. That's just so tough. I think Florida is going to be a good team, but I can't go against that schedule. I've got the Gators in at number 11. Auburn at number 12. I'm not a big Jackson Arnold fan. I know a lot of people are. I got to see that work. I think Hugh Freeze is a really, really good play caller. The off-the-field stuff I'm going to leave in the offseason. But I'm just not a big Jackson Arnold fan. We'll see what Freeze does with him. I got the Tigers in at number 12, Arkansas at number 13. I think I like Taylon Green an awful lot. He's inconsistent. If he ever puts it all together, he's as dangerous a player as there is. But the inconsistency, I'll have them down at 13. Vandy at 14, despite Diego Pavia. They're not going to sneak up on anybody this year. Vandy's Vandy. And then Kentucky at number 15. I think Mark Stoops will probably be coaching his last season with the Wildcats. I think there's been some confidence eroded there. Jimmy and I disagree a little bit about that, but I think there's been some confidence eroded in him since he basically took the A&M job and then had the offer snatched back at the last minute. And then Mississippi State, I think, is going to bring up the rear at number 16. So that's my predictions. We'll see how my predictions stack up against what the league media says here in about 45 minutes. We're at Ruffino's again. The weekly features the coconut shrimp, the Italian sausage egg rolls for your appetizers, the seared salmon, and the banana pudding tiramisu for dessert here. And again, our final show here at Ruffino's in the original bar here. They'll be doing a 2-week renovation here of this area before we open it back up in the beginning of August. So come on out and see us. Duck out of what's some nasty weather here in Baton Rouge. Live at Ruffino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget about friends over at Go Chevrolet in Laplace, and then Go Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Plaquemine. The Go Automotive Group, my buddy Lee Carney and the great stuff.
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The great team over there. Man, the Silverado trucks, the Colorado trucks are outstanding. How about the SUVs? Ultra popular Tahoes and Suburbans. I got the Trailblazers, the Blazers, the Traverse Equinoxes as well. Some of our cars like the Corvette, Camaro, and Malibu. We've got electric vehicles as well. Take the short drive over to Laplace like I did, and I don't just talk about the vehicles from Go Chevrolet. I drive a Chevy Tahoe that I got from Lee Carney over at Go Chevrolet. My buddy Lee, go check him out over at Go Chevrolet in Laplace.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Ruffino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Ruffino's live at lunch. Jimmy out on vacation for a couple of weeks. He's at Delmar. He was nice enough to send us a picture of the sunset yesterday. That was so nice of him. Chris Massaro will probably run into him at some point. Chris, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Charlie? I'm actually supposed to run into Jimmy in a couple hours, and he's saving a couple seats at a little nice dinner reservation he made for us after the track. So, yeah, we'll be getting a full of Jimmy today.
Make him buy lunch, okay? It's day one of the vacation. You know, he's still got his whole bankroll intact. So make him buy lunch today, okay? Just trust me, he's been buying me lunch for years. So make him do that today, okay?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, let's talk. I want to talk about the NFL. Everybody will be. There's a few teams in camp already, and we got. Pretty much everybody will be in camp by the time we start. We have this segment next week, so I want to ask you about some teams. I want to go back I want to start in the Northeast because you obviously got a lot of roots up there in Boston. So I'm going to ask you about the Patriots, but I want to start with the Steelers. The Steelers have made some moves that are kind of un-Steeler-like. They have made some big trades, bringing in DK Metcalf, bringing in Jalen Ramsey, putting a lot of money on the table for Ramsey. They have brought in Aaron Rodgers, maybe the ultimate one-year gamble. They pushed all the money in on T.J. Watt yesterday, which that was I thought an obvious move. And Mike Tomlin, we all know his record, so this is not like Pittsburgh to, like I say, push a bunch of chips in on one season, but it seems like they're doing that this year.
Well, I mean, they have the small window with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he basically said this is going to be his last season, but it's questionable to me. If you bring in DJ Metcalf, why would you ship out George Pickens? You would figure he's on the last year of his deal. He has to be a good boy. He can't be disruptive like he's been in the past. you could have had a really dynamic duo, for the receivers. And I know you said it's an obvious move, and I guess you kind of, held over a barrel there with the T.J. Watt contract. But the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season, I'm pretty sure he didn't have a tackle or a sack. It was a very peculiar type of stat line where he just was not contributing at all. And I'm not sure if he was a little bit injured, but he's on the other side of 30 now, and that's a lot of money guaranteed, $92 million. So I'm not really sure what to make of this team. Every year it seems like they somehow just grind it out and make the playoffs, losing the first round. I just can't be too high on the Steelers, especially the way Rodgers has played the last few years. I mean, the guy doesn't seem to want to be hit, and one of his greatest attributes was the fact that he could extend plays, run out of the pocket, run for the first down, or make the plays down the field while he's making that extra time, and he just doesn't seem to have that mobility anymore.
I said it's an obvious move, only in because you make a great point about his production, only in the vein of what they had done before that. If they had decided to draft a quarterback, if they had not made the trade for Metcalf, if they had not made the trade for Ramsey, and they just said, "Look, we're into a rebuild," then at that point, if you want to trade T.J. Watt, then I understand it. But if you've made all those other moves, you kind of got to keep him at that point. They painted themselves into a corner with T.J. Watt, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. But what does make it a little head scratching for me is I thought Minka Fitzpatrick was has been their most consistent. I mean, obviously Watt, but Fitzpatrick has been there for all the big plays. He's the one that there's so many interceptions, or tip balls, or strip fumbles. The guy's just all over the field, and they're trading him for Jalen Ramsey, who just seems like a me guy. Who he always seems like have a little off the field problem. Questionable on the field, not always healthy. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what to make of the team. There's a lot of moving parts, and usually when you have a lot of moving parts in the NFL, it's usually not a good sign. I mean, I could see them maybe making the playoffs, but in a loaded AFC, it's really going to be tough to see them do much more than that.
I'm with you on Fitzpatrick. I've always been a big fan, and for me to really like an Alabama guy, I got to really like him. I didn't like it when the Dolphins traded him the first time, and I didn't like it when the Steelers traded him. I think he's a terrific football player. Let's talk about your Patriots here for a second. And Will Campbell, LSU guy, number 4 pick in the draft, he is being brought in to protect Drake May, who I thought had a really nice debut last year. I think you get a big upgrade at coach. Chris, what's realistic to expect from the Patriots and especially from May in his second year as a starter?
Well, we'll see what happens with these weapons that they supposedly brought in. The kid from Washington State's a little bit exciting, but we really don't know. I mean, they brought in a bunch of top draft picks last year. The kid from Washington, Polk, and he wasn't able to catch the ball. Everyone's just super excited about the team. I think that they're going to be successful based on the schedule. For one, it's an easier schedule. But I think that they're going to have to win games like 19-16, 20-17, 17-14 type of games. I don't see this being an explosive offense just because they don't have many veteran playmakers. It's all young guys who could have potential. He likes to throw the tight end. Hunter Henry had a nice year last year. But we'll see if they can get some better protection, and maybe that'll open up the offense. But I think the defense is going to be the calling card for the team. Obviously, Vrabel's a defensive guy, and I just think they got so many big pieces all along the front seven, and the defensive backs have been tremendous. So I really think it's a solid defensive squad. I would pump the brakes a little bit on the enthusiasm, but I'm just not sure how many points the team's actually going to score. I feel like they got Travion Henderson from Ohio State. They have Ramondre Stevenson, who's been their bell cow for the last few years. I think they're going to be running the ball a lot, and we'll see if they can get some production out of the wide receiver position. They haven't had any production, and it seems like over a decade from the wide receivers. It's just it's been kind of painful. Their best receiver has been Bob Douglas, a slot guy, little guy from Liberty. So we need a big time playmaker on the outside, and it just hasn't come to fruition yet. I'm excited about it because of the new guys they brought in, but I have to wait and see.
North Carolina is off on the 27th, the weekend of September the 27th. The Patriots play the Panthers that weekend. But I don't think, just call it a hunch, I don't think Belichick is going to go up and watch that game on his off week in North Carolina. It's just me, right?
Yeah, the falling out from it was amazing how quickly Kraft sullied his reputation. The guy was like, do no wrong, saved the team 20-something years ago, brought the Patriots, through all the greatness of the dynasty, 6 Super Bowls, and it eroded pretty quickly with, he had that documentary that was kind of making it all about him, and that Belichick had nothing to do with it, and then he gets rid of Brady, even though he says he was in charge of the team, but apparently Belichick wanted to get rid of Brady. There's a lot of questions that we all have. I can't be upset because when I was growing up, it was the Rod Russ Patriots, it was the Dick McPherson Patriots. We would win 2 to 3 games a year. So everything else now is gravy for me. So I cannot be too upset, but I can definitely see Belichick as someone who probably burned that bridge, and he's not going to be he's not going to be attending any of Bob Kraft's galas anymore.
There's a 30 for 30 in here somewhere with messy NFL divorces, okay? 49ers won 4 Super Bowls with Joe Montana and traded him. The Steelers won 4 Super Bowls with Terry Bradshaw. He and Noel wouldn't speak to each other for pretty much the rest of Noel's life. And now Belichick / Brady and the Patriots. There's a 30 for 30 in here somewhere. Some talented filmmaker about messy NFL divorces. This is right up at the top. Let me ask you about the Bears and Caleb Williams, new coach, big offensive line upgrades, or at least what they think are upgrades. Renewed attitude for Williams after a rocky rookie season. What's realistic in Chicago?
Well, I like what they did on the offensive line, bringing in Tooney from Kansas City. They've improved the line a little bit. That was a major issue last year. The big question is obviously Caleb Williams. I mean, this guy seems to be more interested in painting his fingernails, wearing flowers in his hair, than actually learning how to read film. That the report came out last year. He didn't know how to watch film or correctly watch film. Didn't put a lot of time and effort into it. So, I mean, if your quarterback's not watching film, he's not the first guy in the locker room every day, doing those extensive video work, then you're going to have a big problem. I mean, they do have a bunch of weapons. They have a supposed genius at head coach who had the most electric offense of the NFL last year with Detroit and Ben Johnson. So, I mean, there's a lot of good things pointing in the right direction, but the team just does bizarre things. Like, they just extended the GM. They're like 26 games under 500 since he's been there. This doesn't make any sense. Like, they haven't made a serious playoff push since Trubisky. They replaced Fields with Caleb Williams, another guy who's mobile, but doesn't seem like he fits the NFL mode. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic that the fact that they brought in some good guys on the line, that they could be a much better team. The defense was pretty solid last year. But again, they lost to the Patriots last year at home, and the Patriots were a total disaster. So I just, you got to temper your expectations. Plus, in that division, I mean, that's going to be the most competitive division in the NFL. You got 3 teams that were, super high in the win totals last year: Green Bay, Minnesota, and Detroit. Granted, Detroit loses the 2 coordinators, and you got to get a little bit better effort out of Jordan Love. But it's going to be interesting. That's a really exciting division. I'd say cautiously optimistic that they could, squeak into the playoffs, but I think it comes down to Caleb Love really showing that he's dedicated to football and not some, a lot of the side stuff he looks like he's dedicated to.
Last one, you spent a lot of time in Las Vegas. Pete Carroll, one last ride. Geno Smith, upgraded quarterback. And Ashton Genty, who may be one of the I think he is the odds-on favorite for Rookie of the Year, but maybe as much of an impact rookie as we've seen at the running back position. How much better are the Raiders?
I think they're better. I mean, putting Pete Carroll in, that's a major upgrade. Last year, last couple of years, the Raiders very questionable coaching, and I think this team's going to run the ball a lot. Pete Carroll loves to run the ball, except in the last play of the Super Bowl. He loves to run the ball, and he's gonna be getting. I mean, if you draft a running back that high, you're gonna be giving him the ball a lot. And I'll give you one play I already made for Week 1. It's New England hosting the Raiders, and I feel like both of these teams have decent and more than decent defenses, and both of them are going to look to run the ball with new offensive systems. They're not going to get into a shootout Week 1. I played under 42.5. I played it at a couple different spots in Vegas this week. I really think that's going to be a grinding out type of game. 19-17 comes down to a last second field goal type of game. Because Pete Carroll likes to run the ball. They're gonna have a totally new mentality there, a lot tougher team, a little bit more solid defense, and I think the Raiders could be better. The problem is you're in the division with Kansas City, Denver, and The Chargers, who all have aspirations for the playoffs. Some people think Denver's going to be knocking off Kansas City this year. Great roster, solid defense, another good coach in Peyton. Harbaugh, no slouch as a coach either. Another very, very competitive division. Tough to break through, but I think the Raiders will, put it this way, the Raiders won't be a laughing stock like they've been the last few years.
Chris, we always appreciate the time. I'm going to give you a tip. I think it's the 6th race today at Del Mar. There's a horse called Genius Jimmy, okay? But just bet him to show. Don't bet him to win. That's my pick for you.
I had that written down. I was going to give you guys a race day. Race 6, the 3 and the 4, Genius Jimmy and Mondego is the 3. Both trained by McCarthy. One of them's going to win. I'm just not sure which one.
Give me Mondego. That's just on the name. That's just me giving Jimmy a hard time. Chris, you guys enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk to you next Friday. Thanks, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Charlie.
We are brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors, your full-service financial planners. When it comes to retirement, no two situations are alike. You're at different stages of your life, different income levels, different ages. So Coastal Capital Advisors are going to get a plan together for you that maximizes your return. Your business partners, your legal team, tax professionals all get involved to make sure all your retirement goals are achieved. Coastal Capitals will work for you, and I can tell you for sure because they've been working for me for a long time. For more information, contact Philip Fontenot and his great staff, 337-981-1376. Online, it's coastalcapitaladv.com, coastalcapitaladv.com. Advisory services provided by New Age Advisors, member FINRA, SIPC. Take a break, come back. Troy Macker is with us. Boy, big deals, big MMA fight with Dustin Poirier finishing up his career down in New Orleans this weekend. We'll talk about that UFC card with Troy Macker when we come back live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
United Community Bank, the local way to bank big with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow. We've been serving the people of Southern Louisiana for over 50 years, including their newest branch at Burbank and Bluebonnet. Our great team at United Community Bank, Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Prentice Wilkes, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, and David Henry. You know, running a business can be difficult enough without the right relationship with your bank. With United Community Bank's local business bankers, you're not just a number, you're a partner. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Jimmy, Charlie, and Troy. 3 best buddies sitting around talking sports bets. Let's welcome in Troy Macker from Bet Rivers.
And remember that you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net. You can get them both of those places. Again, Jimmy on vacation this week for a couple of weeks, actually. But we're here. Come on out and see us for lunch as we bid adieu to the current bar here at Rufino's, and a renovation coming up the next couple of weeks. Will be open in time for football season, so come on out and see us. Troy, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on again.
All right. UFC 318 is one that's a little bit more got a little bit more juice down here because this is the end for Dustin Poirier and his long career in the octagon. Tomorrow night, the Smoothie King. This is a pretty tough ticket, I'm told. 36 years old, 30 and 9 in his career, and he is a small underdog tomorrow night to Max Holloway, who he's fought twice before and beat both times, but the last time that happened was 6 years ago. So tell me what you think currently at Bet Rivers. Holloway is minus 148. Poirier is plus 115. How do you see the fight?
I think this fight could go any number of ways. It's a tremendous fight. I don't love the kind of BMF title, but I kind of like that it's essentially an open weight title for guys in and around 150 to 170 pounds who accomplish enough in their careers that they can just go out there and swing it. And so the fights have been pretty awesome, especially since they got rid of like Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal. And now the guys this is perfect for the Holloways, Poiriers, Gaethjes of the world who just love to stand and trade. I honestly like Poirier here. I'm expecting probably one of the 3 to 5 loudest ovations in UFC history for him. whether it's during the walkout or if, there's a crescendo in the second or third and they're slugging and, the fight ends in a similar style, maybe not right at the horn as Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje, you're talking about one of the loudest pops in the history of the UFC. Up there, when Georges St. Pierre won the title in front of 60,000 at the Bell Center in Montreal. He is Louisiana's favorite son in mixed martial arts, more so than Daniel Cormier, who is a two-time UFC champion. The reason I give the advantage to Poirier, even though he's a little bit longer in the tooth, even though Max Holloway it takes a significant amount of punches. He's just a high-volume guy. He also eats a high volume of strikes.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Poirier's bigger. I know he's older, but he's bigger, and his length and his strength has played a role in each of the last two fights. You mentioned that the last one was in 2019. Poirier stopped Max Holloway's 13-fight win streak. Max Holloway was probably at the time a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, beat Jose Aldo twice. I think that this is Poirier's to win, and I do like it because it's plus money. It's plus 115 for Poirier. If he was the favorite at minus 148, I don't know. I may have a no bet there, but I do love plus money, and I think everything's lining up for him to beat Max Holloway. The bet I like the most is this fight not to go the distance, simply because Poirier's last 7 UFC fights have failed to go the distance. He's kill or be killed, and Holloway is not too dissimilar. 3 straight fights have not gone the distance for him. Now, he did have 4 or 5 in a row that went the distance, but the stakes are a bit different here. This is not a world title fight. This is not a title eliminator where you're just trying to get that W and see yourself through to the next fight. This is leave everything you got out there, and Max Holloway is so willing to oblige. This should be just an amazing fight that even non-UFC fans should love, because it's going to be 2 dudes pointing at the center of the octagon and just slinging punches and kicks.
You're getting plus money there, too, just a shade at plus 102 for it not to go the distance. So you like Poirier and not to go the distance. You're getting plus money, both of those things. Troy, because I think we're going to have some casual fight fans, and I count myself among them. I'm not a huge UFC guy, although I watch it, but I'm not immersed in the sport the way Max is, and Max is on vacation today too. Explain the BMF title for those that are watching maybe their first UFC fight in a long time or maybe ever. What that title signifies? It
means the baddest MFer, and it's essentially was created by Dana White with a blessing, I believe, from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or something. And it's for guys, again, in the somewhere between featherweight, lightweight, and middleweight, or welterweight, and guys who are typically going to be around, walk around weight around 160. Guys who are, again, have fought, dozens of times, have fought for titles, who have nothing left to prove in the actual world title, and it's signalizing who's the baddest man on the planet, so to speak. That is a term that we've long, ascribed to heavyweight champions, especially in boxing, but it is carried over now. And, but the heavyweight division is so thin in boxing and mixed martial arts, where the baddest man on the planet doesn't need to be the biggest champion. It needs to be the baddest. And you look at what Max Holloway did to Justin Gaethje. I mean, there's, 20 guys in and around these weight classes who will stand in there and trade. Donald Cowboy Cerrone, who retired 2 years ago, he would be a perfect guy for this. Michael Chandler, who is an elite wrestler, he just loves to trade. So it's really for the mixed martial arts. You can wrestle, you can grapple, you can do jiu-jitsu, you can do judo. These guys don't really want to do that. There might be some a little bit of chain wrestling. It might go to the ground once or twice, but BMF fights are typically let's stand and bang.
All right, we got 13 other fights on the card, counting the prelims and the early prelims. This all starts at 5:00 our time tomorrow. So, what else on the card do you think there's a betting advantage somewhere? What else you like?
Well, I like Kevin Holland to win. He's fighting in the co-main against Daniel Rodriguez. It's very close in money, in terms of Poirier, we've taken the most handle of the whole fight, as you would expect, but Holland is right there. Poirier, I think 13% of the total match handle is on Poirier and 11% is on Holland. I honestly don't know too much about Daniel Rodriguez. I like Holland to win this fight. The problem is he's minus 560. Throw it in a parlay. Holland is another stand and bang guy. If he wins this, he's a guy who could be in the BMF kind of conversation. The fight I'm really looking forward to is Patricio Freire versus Dan Ige. And Patricio Freire, if Matt's were on here, we'd have a discussion about how the UFC handles former Bellator champions. Freire was a longtime champion. He got a really tough matchup in his first fight and lost it split decision. He needs to show up. He's got heavy hands, and it's a very close on the odds. He's actually plus 180. Yes, he is in the moonlight of his career. Dan Ige is a gamer, but I don't think he has the hands, and I don't think he has any sort of size advantage. So if I wanted, again, I like taking plus money. I'd probably take Freire. I've also watched 15, 20 of his fights, and he's beaten some of the best outside the UFC and some of the guys who are now in the UFC. So I would take Freire there at plus 180. Holland, I'm absolutely going to throw in a lot of my parlays. And the other one is Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. Costa, who's fought for the title at the welterweight division, and welterweight is 160. This guy walks around probably around 200 pounds. He is a physical specimen, but he doesn't have the world's greatest chin. He's plus 185. Kopylov is, a bigger guy too, but it does have submission game and does have hands. He's minus 240. I'd probably pair that with Kevin Holland and get that down to around, minus 185 or something like that.
All right, all of that taking place tomorrow afternoon / night at the Smoothie King Center down in New Orleans. Anything before we let you go? The second half of baseball starts tonight. Anything to catch your attention, and it can be anything. It can be division winners. It can be for the pennant, Cy Young, MVP, big dumper bets, anything as we make the turn for the second half in MLB?
Yeah, we took a significant amount of action on the big dumper himself, Cal Raleigh, probably a month before the All-Star game, including some very big bets. Some people, we took probably $1,000 or $2,000 bets on Raleigh at the beginning of the season or very early on in the season. I think he had a torrid start with some home runs. I think there's a $1,000 bet at him at 100 to 1 to win MVP. And when we really saw a lot of the action come in, he was 25 to 1 or 40 to 1. So listen, Aaron Judge, it's going to be really hard to knock him off the MVP because of who he is, who he plays for, and obviously what he's capable with his bat. But, Cal Raleigh's on pace to hit 60 home runs, 55 home runs, something silly. That one is, and if we're talking, let's say MVP, different league, the obviously Ohtani, we're taking, a significant amount of money, but the highest overall potential payout on the NL MVP is Pete Crow Armstrong from the Chicago Cubs. That's the second highest potential payout of any MLB future at Bet Rivers. The only one higher is the Mets to win the World Series. Now, the interesting thing about those two, Bet Rivers is big in the states of New York and Illinois. So obviously we take a lot of action on the Mets in the futures, and we take a huge amount of money on the Cubs in all form or fashion. And PCA has been playing excellent this year. Again, Ohtani, if he pitches, games of 5 innings or more and is as good as he has been, it's going to be very hard to knock him off the MVP. But people are really loving PCA. He's been playing amazing. And, if the Cubs continue what they're doing, I think it could be a realistic shot that he is in that final two discussion for NL MVP, and that would be a significant loss for the sports book.
Follow Troy Machir, Machir. Troy, we always appreciate the time. Enjoy the UFC card, and we'll talk to you we'll talk to you on Monday, actually.
Thanks, man. Talk to you then.
All right, Troy Machir from Bet Rivers. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll give you an update from what's going on at the Open. Bruce Marshall in the next hour. We're talking NFL with him. And then Richard Dixon for the rest of the show. We're talking LSU football just a couple of weeks out from camp. Live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Otten Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Well, the weather's getting a little bit better just in time for Scotty Scheffler to make the turn at Portrush. He is now one shot off the lead. 4 birdies in his first 7 holes, and he's just about to make the turn. He's one shot off the lead that is held by Brian Harmon in the clubhouse at 8 under. Haitong Lee and Matt Fitzpatrick, who was one of our picks, are both one shot, or both 8 under, but are both still on the golf course. Lee is at 18, Fitzpatrick is at 12, Scheffler at 7 under. Robert McIntyre and Terrell Hatton, a couple more guys that we had on the ledger, are 5 under, 3 shots off the lead. And Rory McIlroy today shot a 2 under 69. He is 3 under for the tournament. Bruce Marshall, when we return live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Otten Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And we return here at Rufino's. Come by and see us for lunch. Again, there's going to be a remodeling going on here at Rufino's over the next several weeks. So this is our last show. I said it's the top of the show. We've been doing the show here for the last 13 years right here at our little end of the bar at Rufino's. The next couple of weeks we'll relocate in the restaurant, and then we'll come back in August, and we'll have a brand new facility right here in the bar area. So come say the goodbye ode today here at Rufino's to this area of the bar. We'll come back new and improved here in a few weeks. Bruce Marshall is with us. He was at SEC Media Days. Bruce, good afternoon. How are you?
Pretty good, yeah. I was there through Wednesday. I'm up in Northern Virginia right now. Then I'm going to head to the ACC for a couple days next week and back to Vegas for the Big Ten. So I'm sort of in the middle of a media day tour.
Well, I got some reports on you. I heard you're poking the bear again. You're wearing your Auburn stuff when Alabama was up there. So we appreciate you antagonizing that fan base any chance you get.
Well, yeah, the only problem is at Hoover, it was a lot more fun to do that when there were a lot of Alabama people that would show up, and Atlanta, there were about 5 or 6 Bama fans showed up, so nobody jeered me. But it brought back good memories, so that's why I did it, and Moscona and a few others got a real kick out of it.
Yeah, well, like I said, we appreciate any poking of the Alabama fan bases is all right by us. So your big takeaways, I thought this was a pretty, I don't want to say subdued, but this was not a tremendously newsy week. I wasn't expecting a bombshell like, hey, Oklahoma and Texas are joining the league, but I thought Greg Sankey pretty much held the line with what he said in Destin about 5 weeks ago as far as the future of the CFP scheduling, the House settlement, etc. So I didn't see there was a whole lot of like what you call breaking hard news, but it is always good to kick off the football season. What did you take away from Atlanta?
Yeah, same thought. Yeah, same thoughts on my end, Charlie. I mean, most of this stuff had been addressed before. I mean, they'd kicked around, the CFP model. Are they going to expand it to the 16? The Big Ten has a little different idea than what the SEC wants to do with it. But that territory had been covered before, so Sankey was just sort of, covering the same territory. A few things were left a little bit kind of loose ends, and I wanted somebody, it might have been Heather Dinich who asked this question about private equity financing, and Sankey took the ball and ran with that in a different direction than I wanted it to go. He was talking about it more from the SEC's standpoint and how that would enhance what the conference is doing. And I would be more interested in how that fits to specific schools. And there are some that I've heard that are exploring that. And I was trying to get in a question to ask to have him follow up, and I never got called to do it. But that would have been, a little more interesting, I think. And a lot of talk about the schedule, 8 or 9 game conference schedule, but that's been territory covered before. But you're right. It was a lot of stuff that we had seen addressed before they got to Atlanta.
the people I talk to about the private equity, and this is going to be a bigger story as we go along in college sports, I think, is that the SEC will go kicking and screaming. It would have to get to a point because once you take that genie out of the bottle, that's it. That's forever. Okay, it will have to be a guarantee of so much money that they'd literally never be able to spend it all. Almost, it's not control that they're willing to give up for anything other than just the most outlandish offers you've ever seen. That could change in a year, could change in 5 years, but that's what I've gotten now from the people I've asked about, is that for the league right now, the schools in the league right now, for the moment, it's a hard no.
Yeah, but like you said though, that could turn around real quick. And I'd be more interested in how individual schools can handle it, and if they legally can, and what they could do, because I mean the schools in different states, they're set up, I mean, differently. The charters of the schools, I mean, can you actually bring in private equity? And that's the word, equity. So some of these investors would actually be owning a part of the athletic franchise, and could that actually be done? I think that's a much more interesting question. I'm sure, the SEC as a conference could probably have an easier chance to do that, and it could relate to conference tournaments and conference title games and things like that, and whatever else could come up. But the individual schools, in an era now where a lot of them are cutting costs and all that, looking for different sources of revenue, that's there. The other thing I wanted, and again, it wasn't answered clearly in Atlanta, and the heels of the recent settlement with the players and the schools and having to award money. First of all, their nil is still out there beyond this $20.5 million, but there's some different parameters with the nil that I think a lot of the boosters who are kicking that money in can probably get around some of the new rules, but it's a little bit different than before. But I think a bigger question is, who really benefited from this judgment? Did the schools really benefit? I mean, I don't see it. If they've got to kick back, I mean, they're not mandated to do this $20.5 million thing, but most of them are going to do it. But I mean, that's revenue. They were keeping all that before, and all the nil stuff was paid for outside of the school coffers. And for the players, that was a Wild West scenario, and for them it was unregulated to a certain degree, but it was pretty good for the players. And now we're putting some governors on it. I just don't know who benefits from this. From the new laws better than before. And other than the lawyers, they made out pretty darn well on this thing, but I'm not sure it was widespread with everybody benefiting from it.
Well, I've seen what the players are getting, and believe me, they benefited plenty. I understand at a cost to the sport as far as moving around and things like that and recruiting, but they have benefited plenty. Let's talk about the football stuff. Teams that – just give me one team on each side of the ledger here. Team that could make the biggest jump in the SEC, and team that stands to fall the furthest from what their results were last year.
Florida, because I think at the end of the year, Florida was one of the best teams in the conference, and it wasn't really that way early on. It's sort of related to DJ Lagway taking over at quarterback, and it was that Tennessee game that went to overtime that they lost in mid-October, and that sort of turned everything around. And the only game they really didn't have a look at beyond that was the Texas game, and that's when Lagway was out, and Mertz had already been knocked out, and they were down to a walk-on quarterback, I think, and lost that game. But down the stretch, and I talked to Brett Norsworthy about the Ole Miss game at Florida, and he said Florida was in control of that whole game. You guys saw the LSU game at Florida. Florida beat LSU. They throttled Tulane in the bowl game. They were playing as good as anybody down the stretch, and if they can continue that into this season, I think they've got a shot to make a move. In fact, you know me, I like to go out as kind of a maverick in this. If you see a vote for Florida to win the SEC from the Media Day poll, that would be me, just because I like to be a little bit different. So that's one. On the bottom side, I think both of those Alabama schools I'm wondering about. I think Auburn, and we might have talked about this earlier, they got the win total at 7.5, 7.5 for Auburn. I think that's too high. Hugh Freeze, and he does the same thing every year. You've heard him before, and I have too. He always says the same sorts of things. The team's better, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, and we got things worked out. And there's a lot of expectation for Jackson Arnold, who was sort of hit and miss at Oklahoma at quarterback. But remember, they're only 5-11 in the SEC the last 2 years. Even if Auburn sweeps its 4 non-conference games, they'd still have to go. They still have to win 4 SEC games to get to 8 wins to get over that 7.5. They haven't come close to that the last couple of years. And oh, by the way, they got that opener at Baylor on the road, close to a pick'em game. That is hardly a gimme. They lose that one, it becomes that much harder. The other one I'm wondering, I wonder about DeBoer at Alabama. And I've been a big Kalen DeBoer fan my whole, his whole certainly his run at Washington, even a little bit at Fresno before that. But that team really undershot expectations last year. And Milroe, for DeBoer's reputation as a quarterback whisperer, Milroe didn't get any better last year. He might have got worse. And I think a lot of people, the thought seems to be that DeBoer, different style than Nick Saban, was really in these guys' faces, and DeBoer was more interested in kind of being a friend and chummy with the guys and just, a different approach. And some of the Alabama guys, especially like Milroe, didn't seem to respond to that. But I think there's a question about Alabama where it goes from here. And he didn't go out in the portal to get a quarterback. He's thinking his guys there, and maybe it's going to be Ty Simpson are going to be the one to lead. I'm hardly sure, and it's Alabama. The Saban year, Bear Bryant. That's a half century ago. Saban's thing is rare. Maybe it's more the Ray Perkins type of coach and results that maybe is what the norm is going to be at Alabama, and those folks down in Tuscaloosa are expecting 10, 11 wins every year. Maybe that ain't going to happen with the board. We'll see.
All right. NFL camps are opening as we speak. A couple teams already in camp. Everybody else will be in by the time we talk to you again. So I want to ask you about some quarterback situations. I'm just going to give you I got a handful of them written down here. Whether this team will be, just for this year, okay, will be in better shape with the quarterback they have now or the quarterback that they got rid of. So here goes. You just give me your thoughts on these. Atlanta Falcons, better off with Michael Penix or would have been better off with Kirk Cousins, just for this year?
Penix, because I think we saw enough down the stretch in the last few weeks. The upside is really there with him. So I think they're going to be better off with Penix and Cousins on the downside right now.
Minnesota, better off with J.J. McCarthy or would have been better off keeping Sam Darnold?
This is a lot tougher because Darnold performed so well last year. So that one, I might say the previous.
Right up till the end. Up till the end.
Right until the last 2 games, yeah. Then he became Sam Darnold again. But, the first 16, he was pretty darn good. It's a lot of pressure on J.J. McCarthy to come in there and that offense to get it rolling. Maybe O'Connell has just got this thing so smooth, who's ever at quarterback is going to function well. But that's some pretty lofty numbers from last year that McCarthy was going to have to replicate, aside from those last 2 games. And I'm hardly sure that he's going to be an upgrade.
All right. Let's keep with the Sam Darnold theme. Seattle. Sam Darnold would have been better off keeping Geno Smith.
This one I might lean at the moment a little bit to Geno because he had done it for a few years in Seattle, and we'd really only seen Darnold do it last year at Minnesota until those last 2 games. I understand why Seattle went to get him. By the way, that's where Jalen Milroe ended up, by the way, too. So, he's possible, too, only if Darnold gets hurt. But no, Geno was pretty darn effective for them. And since he had done it for more years than Darnold, I'm not, and maybe that Minnesota system is just good enough that a guy like Darnold would look good. I'm not sure that's going to work in Seattle as good. Geno was pretty competent, so I'm not sure Darnold is an upgrade, no.
Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson?
Throw in Mason Rudolph in there because at some point I think he's going to be the quarterback. I really do. Rodgers should be. I think Wilson had a few decent games in the middle of the season, but it's obvious. I mean, towards late on, he's not able. Russell Wilson is not the Russell Wilson of old and able to win games by himself anymore. If Rodgers still has something, he can still do that. So I think that's a slight upgrade for Pittsburgh. And I think it would be with Mason Rudolph, too, because they got to the playoffs with Rudolph a couple of years ago down the stretch. And I still maintain before the end of the year, Rudolph's going to be their quarterback. We'll see.
Giants, Russell Wilson or Daniel Jones?
Because Jones regressed so much his last two seasons, and they have Jameis Winston there, too, I think, by the way, and Jackson Dart. I'm going to a slight vote for Russell Wilson because I think Jones turned into a negative for them. The 2022 Daniel Jones, when they went to the playoffs and they still had Saquon there, Wilson would be a downgrade. But the Jones we saw the last 2 years, and even down the stretch, I mean, they were playing, Jones got hurt and they were playing Drew Lock and a lot of other guys and some others. Wilson might be a slight upgrade, but again, I think there's a chance somebody else, whether it be Winston or Jackson Dart, second half of the season, is in their quarterback. But all of them are probably better than Jones were last year.
Let's call it Wilson and Company then,
yes.
Or better. All right,
good deal.
Daniel, and this is more of a who they're going to go with type deal than versus last year. But Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis.
After I just dumped on Daniel Jones,
this is how much you hate Anthony Richardson, right?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think Jones might be better. This is a different scenario. He is out of New York now. He's in a spot where we know the glare you got in New York. Indianapolis might be a better spot for him. And he has, at times, I refer back to 2022, he has at times looked like a decent NFL quarterback. Richardson has a few games for that. But I maintain, even in his college career at Florida, there was not much of an example for him there. It was all sort of on the come with him, like, okay, there's upside there, we're going to take him. And he didn't demonstrate an extended body of work in college like that because he didn't do it long enough, and he's certainly been erratic. And his style is prone to injuries in the NFL running like that. I know Jones runs too. And I'm actually going to think Jones is going to win the job there, and he might be a little upgrade.
Last one, the Jets, Justin Fields or last year's Aaron Rodgers?
Fields, because I think there was so much stuff going on with the Jets last year, and it had to do something with the coaching situation too. That maybe, and if Rodgers had still been there with Aaron Glenn, maybe this would have been a better version of Rodgers this year. But I think there was so much around him and so much stuff that Fields will be better. Fields can also move, and I think that's very important. It's important for a team like the Jets, and there were times last year in Pittsburgh where he didn't look that bad. So I'm going to say a slight nod to Fields there.
Okay, your quiz is done. You're done for the day, Bruce. We appreciate the time. As always, we will welcome Jimmy back in a few weeks, but me and you for the next couple of shows. So enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you next Friday.
Okay, Charlie. Thanks.
And we are brought to you in part by the Thibodeau Store and the Pierre Part Store. If you are getting your outdoor area going right now here as we wind towards the back part of the summer and you're looking for a grill, your grilling destination is with the Thibodeau Store, thethibodeaustore.com on the web. Tons of grills to pick from, including the big green egg cookers. And, of course, Outdoor Expressions has got your exclusive furniture. Build a perfect summertime getaway on your, just right there on your back patio. They call it the Summer Oasis. Summer patios equipment furniture is available on the website right now. Hand tools, power tools, gardening equipment. You need lumber delivered. They can take care of that for you. Matching paint, propane, a little bit of something for everybody at the Thibodeau Store and the Pierre Part Store. Thibodeau Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau, open until 5:30 p.m. daily. Also, if you're heading down to the coast doing some fishing, lots of fishing gear is available at the Thibodeau Store. And a staff that's second to none for the do-it-yourselfers that are looking for a little bit of guidance. Check out the staff at the Thibodeau Store, the Pierre Part Store. They'll walk you through step by step, save you a little bit of money. Live here at Ruffino's, live at lunch. Richard Dixon joins us. We've got the SEC predictions are out. We'll see how I did with my picks of the picks and get Richard's thoughts on the upcoming season. That's next here live at Ruffino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, don't forget our friends at Total Maintenance. Total Maintenance, one of South Louisiana's oldest and largest AC and heating companies since 1980. It's hot. It is very hot. So if it breaks down, something is just not cooling properly, call 480-1000. 480-1000. Service today, every day means same-day service. You'll never sleep hot with you call Total Maintenance at 480-1000. Call today, get service today. We're a factory-authorized dealer for Carrier, American Standard, Dakin, and Rheem products at Total Maintenance. We're authorized dealer for Generac and Cummins generators. Now is the time. We're right on the cusp of storm season, so now's the time to get those generators installed. And we're covering both Metro Baton Rouge and New Orleans areas, but not compromised in either because we have completely different staffs and offices for both. Breaks down. Call our friends who support the show, 480-1000. 480-1000, Total Maintenance.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
And in return here at Rufino's. Come by and see us for lunch. Our last one in the current bar before they do their renovations here over the next couple of weeks. Coconut shrimp, the Italian sausage egg rolls, seared salmon, and the banana pudding tiramisu. All of them are on special here at Rufino's. Bring in Richard Dixon, man. Rich, good to see you, man. How's your summer going?
Well, it must be getting close to football season.
Your phone starts ringing, and you're getting ready. We got the SEC order of finish, the predicted order of finish, and the all-conference team. Some surprises in here to me. So you hadn't seen this yet. This just dropped here a few minutes ago. So I'm gonna go through it and I'm gonna see how we did. We made a prediction on the prediction and get your thoughts on this. The predicted order of finish. So I thought that they would pick Texas, and they did at number 1. Where you at on Arch Manning?
Look, you've seen glimpses of him. My favorite play from him last year was the scramble where you got to see his speed. He's a guy that's very highly thought of. He's got all the hype, but I haven't seen enough of him yet.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and also think between the Heisman bettors, the odds makers, and all that, and he's got the name. I think it's a little bit too much too soon. That doesn't mean that I don't think the kid's going to be a terrific player. Is he capable of winning the Heisman Trophy? Yes. He's got all the talent in the world. He's got a great roster around him, and he's got a pretty good coach. I'm not the biggest Sark guy, but I respect what he's able to do. And maybe he wins the Heisman. Maybe they win the national championship. Maybe he's the first pick in the draft this year and next. But I'm like you. I want to see a little bit more. Georgia. Number 2 pick. I picked them second. That's what the league picked them. Number 2. A lot of pressure on Gunnar Stockton to take over at quarterback.
Yeah, new quarterback. To me, I didn't think Georgia was very good last year. They were very inconsistent. They were good, but inconsistent.
They had to go on the road, for those 3 big games. They threw up on themselves at Ole Miss. That was the one.
Yeah, and then the quarterback down in Miami now. He's
Carson Beck. Yeah.
He had a couple struggles a little bit, and they ended up bringing in the other guy. They got the name kind of like Alabama of the past. They've been very good. They've been dominant. Everybody respects Kirby. So you see them being at number 2.
Picked Alabama I thought that they would pick Alabama at number 3. They did. I think this is a kind of a reputation call. I think Alabama's right there at the 3, 4, 5. That's probably where they'll be. I don't know how good Ty Simpson is at quarterback. He's a very highly rated recruit. He may be really good. I don't know. I thought they'd be in this range. 3 is about where I thought they'd pick them.
Yeah, I need to see more from them as well. Like you said, they have the name. Everybody knows the athletes they have. They got talent. You got a new quarterback in there. You don't have Jalen Milroe anymore. Ty Simpson was a 5-star guy that people really think highly of. But, he, as a pure thrower, he wasn't able to beat out Jalen Milroe. So there's still a lot for me that I need to see over there.
There were games last year where they just absolutely stunk up the joint. They stunk it up against Oklahoma. They stunk it up against Vanderbilt. They looked terrible in the bowl game. I thought that bowl game was going to get away from them against Michigan, and they ended up making it respectable. But they had some really bad spots. It's some really good spots.
No.
The LSU game was there.
You got a quarterback that could run. Anybody could beat LSU that had a quarterback that could run last year.
That was the bad part of it. Picked LSU at number 4. That's where the media has them. We're going to talk more about the Tigers here in a second. I kind of went out on a limb a little bit. I thought that they would pick South Carolina number 5. I wasn't sure I was going to get that one right. They did. South Carolina's interesting. We're going to talk about the quarterback, Lenore Sellers. This schedule, I think there's a bunch of toss-up games, and starting with the one at Missouri in the month of September, them going to Missouri. That game could go either way. I think at Ole Miss, that game could go either way. At A&M, I think that game could go either way. At home against Oklahoma, I think that's close. I think there's a couple of games that they're going to beat Kentucky at home, and I think that they're going to lose in Baton Rouge. After that, the other 6 games I can go either way. But South Carolina at number 5. I had said they would pick Missouri at number 6 because I thought that they would actually read the schedules. They didn't. They put Florida in there. Listen, I think if Florida and Missouri played at a neutral site, I got Florida all day and all night. But I can't ignore the schedule that these two teams have, and the difference in the schedules of these two teams is drastic. Missouri, their road games are at Auburn, which they could win, at Vandy, which they could win, at Arkansas, which they could win. I mean, if they're underdogs in any of those games, it's going to be a very, very small underdog. Now, the Arkansas game's the last game of the season, second half, and then at Oklahoma. And I don't think that they are an overwhelming underdog there. I always look at the road games. What chance do they have the road game? I think they got a chance in all 4 of them. I don't think they'll win all 4 of them. But I could see Missouri winning 3 of those games. And then the home games against South Carolina, again, that's a toss-up. Alabama, A&M, and Mississippi State. No Texas, no Georgia, no LSU. This is 3 of the top 4 teams in the league, and Missouri misses them all. Whereas you go to Florida's schedule, and my goodness, you got as big of a gauntlet as anybody does in the league. They got to go to LSU. They got to go to A&M, which I think is a toss-up game for them. They got to play Georgia at home. They got to play Tennessee at home. They got Texas at home. They go to Ole Miss, which I think I don't know exactly what Ole Miss is going to look like by November. Again, I think Florida's a little bit better than Missouri. Maybe a lot better than Missouri. But these schedules, that's kind of where you lose me.
Yeah, I mean, Florida, Florida might be – is that the hottest seat in the SEC right now? I mean, they're expecting a lot of him. He's had a couple rough years.
I think the hottest seat in the league is him, Arkansas, and Kentucky.
Okay.
I think that Pittman's won 33% of his games. I mean, he's a good story, came out of the gate strong, but they're 14-28. And I think Mark Stoops did a lot of damage internally when he took the A&M job, and then the offer got pulled. And that I think the bottom fell out on him last year. They were 1-7. I think another bad year, and they could just decide, he's a good coach, and it was a good fit for a long time. I think it's run its course.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 that I would say.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just Florida is – they got the most pressure. I mean, I think Kentucky settles. They'll settle with Bob Stoops winning 8-9 games a year. Arkansas, they settle as long as they're winning, have a winning season, in my opinion. But Florida fans, they're not going to settle. I mean,
no.
that's a program that expects to be in SEC championships, national championships, to recruit highly. And, man, he hadn't been able to get it done yet.
So they picked Florida 6th, Ole Miss 7th. We had picked them 8th, so pretty close there. A&M, they pick 8th. We had picked them 9th, so pretty close there. Tennessee, they picked 10th. We had picked Tennessee 10th, so we got that one right. And then they finish up Oklahoma at 11. Auburn which we were off on that one. I had Oklahoma up at number 7. That's another team that could go a lot of different ways. We had Auburn at number 12. Auburn's 11. They've got Missouri at number 12. I think that's too low. I think that's a pretty good roster for what that schedule is. If they were playing Florida's schedule, I wouldn't have them up there. And then the bottom four teams in the league we had correct. We had them a little bit out of order. Vandy at 13, Arkansas at 14. We had those flip-flopped. And then Kentucky at 15 and Mississippi State at 16. We had both of those correct. So we didn't do too bad with our predictions.
So Vandy's not getting any credit for the season they had last year, it seems. I mean,
Nobody,
Diego Pave back or whatever his name.
They do, yeah.
They played a lot of competitive games last year, won some big games. I don't see where they fell off. I don't understand. Like, I get the name Vanderbilt belongs in the bottom 3 or 4 at SEC.
Yeah.
But it's a team that, they played very well last year. They got their quarterback back. I don't know who all they lost. I don't know if their schedule's super tough, but
No, it's okay. I think the one thing with Vanderbilt is they're not going to sneak up on anybody. I think they snuck up on some people last year.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who Diego Pavia is now, so I don't think they sneak up on anybody. The road games are at Alabama, at Texas, at Tennessee. I don't think they can win any of those games. And at South Carolina, I think they'll lose that game too. So how many home games can you win? Your home games are against LSU, which I don't think they'll win. Missouri, no. I think they're probably going to lose that game. I think they could beat Auburn and Kentucky.
Yeah.
Or Kentucky. They're probably 2 wins in the league. 3 is a little bit on the outside.
I think Hugh Freeze got to do something this year.
I don't know that Hugh Freeze has to do something this year. I'm not a big Jackson Arnold guy. I was not impressed with Jackson Arnold's career path. To me, is very similar to what Spencer Rattler was. Rattler went into Oklahoma as his do-all and be-all recruit, number one, in some places, and just never lived up to it. He went to South Carolina, and he had his moments, but he was just okay. I think Jackson Arnold, the same thing. He went in there, he was the number one recruit, went in there, and you watch him play, and you're just like, and I think he'll go to Auburn, and I think he'll have his moments, but do I think he'll, transfer and be the next big thing, the next Cam Newton? No, I don't.
No, he was a big-name recruit, a guy that, was kind of dealt an impossible hand as a freshman. I mean, how many wide receivers were they out at Oklahoma last year?
It's a tough deal.
To come into that situation, you lose all your talent. You're the young guy out there trying to make something happen. It was a bad situation. But, for me, he's still a wait-and-see type guy. I mean, if he gets to Auburn with the right talent, right people, right coaching, does that talent prevail?
All right, now to the all-conference teams. This was a big surprise to me. Lenore Sellers, who I love, I think has got enormous potential, and I think he's going to take the next step. He's a first-team All-SEC quarterback.
No.
I thought that would be Garrett Nussmeier, who is on the second team. So that is a big, big surprise to me. LSU put 0 players on the All-SEC first-team offense. That's a big surprise. Garrett Nussmeier is a second-team quarterback. Caden Durham is one of the second-team running backs, along with Jaden Ott from Oklahoma. The first-team running backs were Quintravian Wisner from Texas and Le'Veon Moss from A&M, who had the charges dropped against him yesterday, so he's legally in the clear. Aaron Anderson from LSU made the second-team offense. Also a little bit of a surprise to me, just because – and he had a great year last year. When we were doing film study, man, some real matchup nightmares. I'm convinced that he was hurt more than he was letting on 2 years ago.
100%.
Like the player. I'm just surprised they gave him that much recognition.
Yeah,
so good for him.
He had a great year last year. He was, kind of the primary target for Garrett. He was a crafty guy that ran a lot of the seams across the middle, out of the slot. He's a guy we expect to lead that wide receiver room this year.
Arch Manning, the third-team All-SEC quarterback. The Heisman favorite is predicted to finish third-team All-SEC. I'm just saying, defensively on the first team, Whit Weeks from LSU is a first-team selection as we expected. Harold Perkins is a second-team selection. I can't say I'm shocked based on what he did early in his career. It would also not have surprised – this one could have gone either way for me. It would not have surprised me if they had left him off of this year's team because he missed so much time last year.
Harold Perkins' name is built off his freshman year. We all know what he can do. I think, unfortunately, he's been out of place a little bit in his career. But this is a big year for him. Everybody knows the athlete he can be, the potential he has. And we're just hoping it all comes together.
And then no Tigers on the third team, so it's just Weeks and Perkins on the All-SEC first, second, third team. And then this I thought was kind of funny. The SEC does 6 specialists, a punter, a kicker, a long snapper, a kickoff specialist, a return specialist, and an all-purpose guy. Georgia's got all 6.
It sounds like one guy turned in his list.
Well, and it's 5 different guys. Peyton Woodring is the place kicker and the kickoff specialist, but Georgia's punter, kicker, long snapper, kickoff specialist, return specialist, and the return specialist and the all-purpose guy are both Zachariah Branch. So it's 4 players in 6 positions. Georgia's the new Hunt had a funny text. He says Frank Beamer's taking over there. They're the new Virginia Tech. We're past time for a break. Let's do that. We'll come.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather, now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Thoughts on LSU when we return live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at Relief Windows. If your homeowners association requires wood windows like mine, no better people to call because you get the best of both worlds. The builder wants something that's going to last. Yes, we do too. But the architect wants something that is going to prioritize what looks better. We want that too. But you also want it to be functional also. It is functional. I love my Relief window. When the weather is really nice, roll them open in a media room, man. Enjoy the open air. And they look great. They're functional, and they are built to last. They're built to last because it's RLS wood by Geldwin. Unlike your average wood, which is treated on just the surface, it's treated straight through the core, offering unparalleled protection against rot, water saturation, and termites. These wood windows from Relief Windows are built to last. Check out all of their products at reliefwindows.com. Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Return here at Rufino's. Richard Dixon with us for the rest of the show. Rich, you've talked so many times about how important the summer workouts are and how important it is for the quarterback to lead those things. So Garrett Nussmeier, very eloquent this week, saying, look, I understand. I've got to cut down on the turnovers. So when you're running summer workouts and you're trying to cut down on turnovers, what do these workouts look like? What's going on out there right now?
Well, it's just not forcing things. I mean, it's one of those things where, you got good coverage where typically everybody in the summer, they're not worried about throwing an interception right then. They're going to try to force it, see what they can do. He's going back, looking at all of his throws, and look, he understands that when he's a timing thrower, he throws guys open. The style of play is more conducive to interceptions, but he can't have the ones where he forces things, where he's just as fine throwing the ball away, not taking a sack, getting on to the next down. Those are the plays where he's got to reel it in, and it's tough because he's one of those guys that wants to make a play. He's competitive, but in those situations, those are the turnovers that he's got to slow down.
He's working with a lot of new receivers: Nick Anderson, Barian Brown, Bauer Sharp. I mean, we talk about continuity all the time. And even for the moment, Chris Hilton, who missed so much of last season, how do that continuity, can it be refined in this shorter period of time?
Yeah, I mean, look, you talk about, we go back to 2019 and what they call the summer 10,000 catches. Everybody wanted 10,000 catches, get in there and get your work done. From everything you've seen at SEC Media Day and when Garrett talks this is the closest team he's been around. Like this is a guy that's been here, what is this, fifth year or fourth year? Fifth year. So he's been around a long time, and this is the closest team he's been around, which tells to me is they're spending time together in the offseason. They're getting the work in. He seems to be the type of guy that, doesn't get bored with throwing to the same people every day. So, I mean, from what I've heard is they're putting the work in this summer because he understands that it's all about getting on the same page as these guys.
Tell me about and I know you haven't actually worked with it, but I know you know enough about it. What Jaden Daniels was working with, which is the simulated, you put the helmet on and you see that you're not actually throwing the ball, but you can go through all of your reads.
You're deciding things, your decision making. You're seeing, how quick is that corner going to roll? How big is the window to get the ball in? I mean, for him, that is your mental reps where in his brain, like you said, he's not throwing the ball, but when he's looking at there and he gets in the film room, he knows now, like, I got to throw now. It's more of a mental training to train your brain to say, all right, once you see this is the time to pull the trigger.
Muscle memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you're not throwing the ball. I remember when I was playing poker back when I just turned 21, I thought I was one of the youngest guys that was playing cards at the time. I was like, man, by the time I'm older, I'll have more hands under my belt than anybody I'm playing against because nobody else is playing. And then they put it on the computer and the guy started playing 500 hands an hour, and my plan just got shot to hell. But for these guys, to see that many more times than what you have to do when you actually got to have 10 guys out there with you, running a play.
It's just clean. I mean, the amount of times you can sit there by yourself and go through just mental reps of understanding, they're going to put on film. They design this around the guys that they're watching. They can break it down to the defenses that they're going to see and see how they cover and how they play. It's just, like you said, it's mental reps. It's muscle memory getting in there to where, you see the corner move or line up 2 yards outside the hash or line up at 13 yards instead of 15 yards, understanding where he's moving, where he's going, and understand it just makes things happen faster.
I have an idea of what I think the starting offensive line is going to look like, but I wouldn't bet my life on it right now, 6 weeks to the opener. How long does it take that group to get up to speed? All of these guys are experienced, but they're not necessarily experienced. And I say they're all experienced. That's not true. The tackles are light in experience, but the two transfers have a ton of experience, and your center's back from a year ago. You're going to probably move him to guard. How long does it take him to get up to speed?
That's different on every team. You don't understand how those guys work. I've heard a lot of great things about Tyree Adams. And for me, that's your starting point, your left tackle. Garrett Nussmeier has to have a clean pocket. You want him to get clean. So you bring in the two interior guys. You got your center from last year, or one of the interior guys might flip-flop. You move Chester to guard.
I think Chester's a guard.
He was a freshman or a redshirt freshman. Man, you don't know. We'll find that out against Clemson, and that's one of the scary parts.
We really didn't have enough time today. we got to get you back in before camp starts again. But I'm going to ask you about the tight ends because Trey Green, we spent a lot of time on the podcast, and we're bringing the podcast back again this fall with the film study. You described him as a willing blocker, which is part of it, but not a good blocker, and a, let's say, substandard but improving route runner, and he was still able to do some of those things. Yeah. That route he ran for the touchdown in the bowl game is like you just really, it's like he didn't do a single thing right on this play, and he still got open.
He's a freak. He's 6'7". I mean, he can go up and get the ball. He relies on his size, and that can get you away from being a great route runner. But once he puts those things together where he bends guys and understand what – he's got to understand who's covering him and what their job is and how to manipulate what he's thinking he's seeing, and that way that he gets open. But right now, he gets that, it's wide open. Right now, we're just going to throw it up high. He's going to go get it.
When did the light come on for you? When you're like, okay, I see what they're trying to teach me here.
The summer I spent with Matt Flynn, early Doucette, going into my sophomore year. My freshman year, I think I caught 6 passes, and it was more of just running the route that they told me to run. I didn't understand how to bend things and manipulate in different coverages and how to move. But once you start figuring that out, it gets so much easier. Like that's when you start saying, I'm always open. I'm not going to run a route where I'm not open. Like, I understand how to get open on each route. And it was really, the reps we spent in doing 3 days a week, 7-on-7 with the quarterbacks and the wide receivers and the defense, and, starting to feel that out and really start paying attention to it.
Flynn did all of that work with you and still didn't throw you the ball in the championship game when it gave you the third touchdown? You were open.
Yeah, I was always open.
We'll take our final time out here. Come back and wrap things up live at Rufino's. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Otten Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Wrapping up here at Rufino's. Rich, we're going to have a lot of time to talk to you before the opener, but give me – they got about 2 weeks left before they go to camp. When you were a player and you knew, man, I'm about to have to lock in for 4 months without really any time off, what do you spend the last week or so doing when you still got a little bit of time to yourself?
I could do a little bit of fishing.
Yeah.
Get out of town, go see your parents. Usually they're going to have when we played, you had a conditioning test somewhere right before camp started. You had about a week off. Went back home, relaxed a little bit. You still, of course, worked out back home. But just, understand that, when you get back, it's a 6-month deal.
That first day, the excitement, and then you got to really settle in here for camp, and then it's a long haul.
No, you just look. You're all excited, but you get through the first week of camp, you're like, God dang it!
Right,
got to get loosened back up, and then it's all about game one.
You got plenty of practice left.
I think
you
right
hit that
now, it should be the most motivated team. I mean, it is embarrassing to all them that we've started 5 years in a row with a loss. This is huge. I mean, this is what all these guys had been talking about all summer long. We got to get through it. This is a huge, the biggest first game that LSU's had in a long time.
We're going to be talking plenty about that. Are they putting too much emphasis on it? Got 11 after that,
Exactly.
Thanks to the folks here at Rufino's. The coconut shrimp, the Italian sausage egg rolls, the seared salmon, and the banana pudding tiramisu, all on the specials menu here today. Monday, we're at the Queen. For Jordan back in the studio, for Richard and all of us here at Rufino's, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.